and that a recording of the meeting will be posted on our school board website within 48 hours following this meeting. I would like to welcome our board members and members of the public joining us this evening. To our board members, please be reminded that for sound purposes, you must turn on your microphone by tapping the touchpad and speak directly into it for the sound to be audible not only for our in-person community members here in the auditorium, but also for anyone listening to the live stream. After speaking, please also mute your microphone by once again pressing on the touchpad. Mrs. Kepner, would you please take the roll call of the board?
Yes. Mrs. Baker?
Present.
Mr. Berardi?
Present.
Dr. Butler?
Present.
Ms. Cannon?
Present.
Mr. Geiger?
Present.
Dr. Lee?
Present.
Mrs. Natter?
Present.
Mr. Steinberg? Mr. Steinberg is absent. Mr. Wolbransky? Mr. Wolbransky is absent. There are 7 board members present.
Thank you, Mrs. Kepner. I'll take the roll call of the cabinet members, administrators who will be participating in this evening's meeting. Mrs. Galdo.
Present.
Mrs. Drennan.
Present.
Mr. McGuinn.
Here.
Mr. Giordano.
Present.
Dr. Hilt. Mr. Miles. Mr. Miles is present. Ms. Dilks. Ms. Dilks is present. Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole is present. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 21st, 2023 regular meeting as recorded or amended of the Lower Moreland Township School District? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried.
This evening, we're fortunate enough to have a sneak preview of the Wizard of Oz spring musical being presented by our high school drama club, and I'd like to welcome Mrs. Abramson to the microphone to share an introduction of this particular scene. And as a board, once Mrs. Abramson's done, we'll move out into the audience so that we can get a better view. Thank you.
For supporting the arts in Lower Moreland. We're excited to be able to bring classics like this to the stage to you and to give these experiences to the students here. Something special this year for this show, we actually have 16 Pine Road students playing our Munchkins, so you don't want to miss that. They are having so much fun getting to be on the big stage, and they at first told me they were scared to be in it with the high school kids, but they've got along just fine, and they're having so much fun at our rehearsals. It's wonderful. A couple more thank yous and shout outs. A little plug for a good friend of mine who's an art teacher out in Lancaster County. And as a side project, it created a puppet company, and he created our Toto puppet. It's amazing. So I just wanted to give a shout out to my friend Dan Cook from Lancaster County who created our Toto. Wait till you see it. It's awesome. And that is operated by Caitlin Haggerty, and she's doing an amazing job. So, the dates for the show, April 13th, 14th, and 15th. On the 15th, that Saturday, we have a matinee at 1 o'clock and an evening performance as well. You don't want to miss this. There are tickets available online for the first several rows, but you can show up at the door with cash or check to pay. You don't want to miss this one. It's a classic. It's a favorite. And we have some pretty amazingly talented kids. So speaking of those amazing kids, I'm going to turn over to a very special narrator for you. Izzy Magazzini is going to introduce what scene you will be seeing today. Thank you very much.
Dorothy and her beloved dog Toto live in the Kansas prairie. One day, they swept up inside a tornado and dropped into a mysterious and magical land full of munchkins and a good witch named Glinda. We don't like her. Unfortunately, Dorothy upset the marvelous and beautiful Wicked Witch, that's me, when her house landed on my sister. More than anything, Dorothy wants to go back home to Kansas. The Munchkins and Glinda suggest that she go to the land of Oz to talk to the wizard. Along the way, she meets some helpful friends, including a scarecrow and a tin man. In this scene, the Wicked Witch of the West is threatening the friends and trying to stop them from going to see the Wizard of Oz, and rightfully so.
We've come such a long way already.
You call that long? Why, we've only just begun!
You're the one who put the spell on my axe.
It certainly chopped you sound to size, didn't it, my fine gentleman? Well, stay away from her, or I'll stuff a mattress out of you, Scarecrow, and you, Tin Man, I'll use you for a beehive.
I'm not afraid of you.
That just proves how uneducated you are. Allow me to educate you. Here, Scarecrow, want to play ball?
Oh, fire, help, help.
Just remember, Scarecrow, helping that girl reach Emerald City should be your last burning ambition.
I'm still not afraid of her. I'll see you get safely to Emerald City, whether I've got a brain or not. Stuff a mattress with me. Ha!
And I'll see you reach the wizard whether I get a heart or not. Beehive, bah! Let her try and make a beehive out of me.
Oh, you're the best friends anybody ever had. And it's funny, but I feel as if I've known you all the time. But I couldn't have, could I?
I don't see how. You weren't there when I was stoning stuff together, were you?
And I've been standing over there rusting for the longest time.
I wish I could remember. But it really doesn't matter. We know each other now, don't we?
That's right.
We do.
To Oz?
To Oz. If ever a wizard was, if ever a wizard was, the Wizard of Oz is one because
Because of the wonderful things he does.
we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
I don't like this forest. It's dark and creepy.
I'm not very bright, but I think it'll get darker before it'll get lighter.
Do you suppose we'll meet any wild animals?
We might.
Oh,
Animals that eat straw?
Some, but mostly lions and tigers and bears.
lions?
And tigers?
And bears.
Oh, lions and tigers and bears? Oh my. Lions and tigers and bears. 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 Oh my.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Put 'em up. Which one of you first? I'll fight you both together if you want. I'll fight you with one paw tied behind my back. I'll fight you standing on one foot. I'll fight you with my eyes closed. Oh, pulling an axe on me, eh? Sneaking up on me, eh? Why?
Now, leave us alone.
Oh, scared, huh? Afraid, huh? How long can you stick fresh in that can? Come on, get up and fight, you shivering junkyard. Put your hands up, you lopsided bag of hay.
Now that's getting personal, Lion.
Yes, get up and teach him a lesson.
What's wrong with you teaching him?
Well, I hardly know him.
Oh, get you anyway, Pee-wee.
Oh, shame on you!
What'd you do that for? I didn't bite him.
No, but you tried to. It's bad enough picking on a straw man, but when you go around picking on poor little dogs.
Well, you didn't have to go and hit me, did ya? Is my nose bleeding?
Well, of course not. My goodness, what a fuss you're making. Why, you're nothing but a great big coward.
You're right. I am a coward. I haven't got any courage at all. I even scare myself. Oh God. Look at the circles under my eyes. I haven't slept in weeks.
Have you tried counting sheep?
That doesn't do any good. I'm afraid of them.
Oh, you poor thing. Why don't you come along with us? We're on our way to see the wizard now, to get him a heart.
And him a brain.
I'm sure he could give you some courage.
When did you feel degraded to be seen in the company of a cowardly lion? I would.
Well, of course not.
Gee, that's awfully nice of you. You see, my life has been simply unbearable. Even my own family's disowned me. When I was just a little cub, my father took me to the top of a high mountain, waved his paw around and said, "One day, son, all this will be yours." Oh, was I terrified.
Why is that?
I'm scared of heights.
Oh, well, it's all right now. The wizard will fix everything.
Well, at least you'll be safe if I come with you.
How's that?
No self-respecting wild animal will come anywhere near me. Said a lion, poor neurotic lion, to a miss who listened to him rave. Oh, the Lord made me forgot to make me brave. Then his tail began to curl in a wave. Life is sad, believe me, missy, when you're born to be a sissy without the vim and void. But I could change my habits, never be more scared of rabbits if I only had the nerve. I'm afraid there's no denying I'm just a dandelion, a fate I don't deserve. But I could show my prowess, be a lion, not a mouse, if I only had the nerve.
Oh, you'd be in your stride, a king down to the core.
You could roar the way you never roared before.
And then I'd roar and roar some more. I would show the dinosaurs who's king around the forest, a king they better soil. Oh, with my regal Caesar, I could be another Caesar if I only had the nerve. I'd be brave as a blizzard.
I'd be gentle as a lizard.
I'd be clever as a gizzard.
If the wizard is a wizard who will serve.
Then I'm sure to get a brain,
A heart.
A home.
The nerve.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. We hear he is a wizard, a whiz, if ever a whiz there was. If ever a whiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
They're off to see the wizard. Or are they? You better come and watch, or else I'll cast a spell on you and drop a house on your sister. Come, little gremlin.
All right.
Thank you, Mrs. Aberson, and thank you, cast and crew. Mark that down, 13th, 14th, and 15th of April. That takes us to our second recognition of this evening, and this is our annual Student of the Month program. And I'd like to invite Mr. Miles, building principal at the high school, to the podium for his Students of the Month.
Good evening, Dr. David Heiser and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize our students. And if the Wicked Witch is still listening, I will be there. I will heed your warning. I will be at this show. What a wonderful performance. Looking forward to it. So back to our Students of the Month. We actually have 3 Students of the Month this time around. We have a 10th grader, an 11th grader, and a 12th grader. So I would ask them if they would join me at the podium. 10th grader Mia Torgan, and 11th grader Lizzie Allen, and 12th grader Marius Farulovici. Okay, Mia first, if you want to come up here. And this is what the teachers had to say about each of our students. Mia is an outstanding student. She is the student that greets you every day, asks how you are doing, and is always kind and friendly to her peers in the same sincere and genuine way. Mia is accomplished in athletics and is a great teammate. In addition, she is a student you can rely on for thoughtful contributions in class, consistent work completion, and exceeding expectations. Mia represents Lower Moreland in the best way each day for our school culture. And if I may read the certificate. Lower Moreland High School Student of the Month, Mia Torgan, is recognized for academics, character, and integrity. We congratulate you and have confidence that your future will be equally successful. Congratulations. And next, Lizzie, 11th grader. Lizzie is the kind of student that makes the room brighter upon entering. Without ever being asked, Lizzie goes out of her way to make everyone in the room feel included. She steps up to lead when needed and helps others achieve success. Lizzie is constantly a positive influence on the whole room and is an example to others. Each day in class with her is a true treat. She works hard, gets along with others, and brings joy to all of those around her. And again, for the certificate, Lower Moreland High School Student of the Month, Elizabeth Allen, is recognized for academics, character, and integrity. We congratulate you and have confidence that your future will be equally successful. Lizzie, congratulations. And Marius. Marius Firlovici. Okay, I apologize for not getting it right the first time. Marius is always attentive and respectful. He is inclusive of all students, brings a positive attitude, and shows strong character, wanting to create a pleasant learning environment. He is an asset in class, challenges himself, and shows genuine care. Lower Moreland High School Student of the Month, Marius Firlovici, is recognized for academics, character, and integrity. We congratulate you and have confidence that your future will be equally successful. Marius, congratulations. And each student will also receive a letter of congratulations from Representative Genst once that is received. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miles, and congratulations to our high school students of the month. I'd like to invite Ms. Dilks, Murray Avenue principal, to the podium for her recognition of her two students of the month.
It's my pleasure to honor two of our 8th grade students this month. I see one in the audience, and I'm going to invite her to come down to the podium. Anne Tran is here with us this evening. She can join me down here. Our other student of the month is Yusuf Shamarandava, and he is not with us this evening. I wanted to start by reading the certificate from our Senator Maria Collette. Your dedication to academics and school activities and your demonstration of good character are exemplary. For the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the United States of America to grow and succeed, we must all make our best, most heartfelt effort to consistently display these qualities. We are each responsible for helping our school and our community, and you have shown that you are up to the challenge. I join with your teachers and fellow students in recognizing your outstanding citizenship qualities. Congratulations for receiving this much-deserved award. And I'll share with you the comments that Anne's teachers shared about her. Anne is a diligent and engaged student in all of her academic classes. Not only is she a hardworking model student, she is also kind, helpful, and polite. Her teachers say that she is a pleasure to have in class, Additionally, Anne has been a major part of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Planning Committee this year and has been working hard to make our school a more welcoming place for all students. Congratulations, Anne. Our other student of the month is Yusuf Sharmandanov. Yusuf is a fantastic student to have in class. He is incredibly hardworking and always has a positive attitude. Yusuf has shown significant growth academically over the course of the school year. He is incredibly friendly and works well independently as well as in a group setting. Yusuf inspires his peers to work as hard as he does. Congratulations, Yusuf. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Delks, and congratulations to our Murray Avenue Students of the Month. Mr. Cole, if you would come forward to the podium to recognize your Student of the Month from Pine Road Elementary.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, our Pine Road Student of the Month will not be able to join us tonight. But our Pine Road Student of the Month is Adriana Kumaris. Adriana is always a kind and friendly student. In class, she is always eager to participate, and her nominating teacher shared that she is always impressed by this student's ideas. In addition, she is willing to help other classmates and always does the right thing. She deserves this award for all of these reasons and many more. She is a great example to others, and her caring and helpful personality has made her a student that other students look up to. So, congratulations, Adriana.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Okay, that takes us to the public comments section of the meeting. We do have one speaker registered for this evening, Dr. Paul Randolph. Dr. Randolph, if you'd like to come down to the podium.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations to those students who are up on stage and the Students of the Month. It's great to see our young people excelling in our schools, and that's awesome. So congrats to them. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of our school board and district administration. As you know, I was here 2 weeks ago to address the issue of what I consider to be the fiscal irresponsibility of the district as reflected in the fact that over the last 20 years, Lower Moreland has been in the top 5 in tax increases among 60 districts in the 4-county area, as reported on more than one occasion by the Philadelphia Inquirer. During your work session, it was reported by the superintendent and business manager that the high school presently being constructed will already be at near capacity when it opens. This will necessitate keeping Murray Avenue School open to accommodate the number of students that will be in the district. Frankly, I kind of sat back in utter disbelief that our district could have been so short-sighted to build a school that could not accommodate future growth. I mean, if we're going to build a high school, build it big enough to accommodate who's going to be attending now and in the future. I don't think it's any secret that new housing has been built and more is planned. The excuse given was that you underestimated how many students would come to the district. My opinion, this is poor planning. You already had data from other housing built in Lower Moreland, such as Carson Terrace, Woodmont, in addition to the Greens at Huntington Valley, and Stone Mill, which were shown in your PowerPoint presentation, to demonstrate how many students could potentially come from additional new developments beyond the inadequate projections from the company FutureThink. We heard that we are the only district that is having increasing enrollment. That is not accurate. I can give you a number of districts with increasing enrollment. For the sake of time, I will only mention the Lower Merion District, which has currently 8,700 students, its highest enrollment in 40 years, and expects that number to increase to 9,300 in the next few years. You projected a potential maximum increase by 2028 to 2029 of 310 students. Lower Merion is projecting an increase of 600 students. So we are not the only district that is having increases, and I could cite some others. What I also found incredible about this building proposal is that no one on the school board seemed to drill down and ask any difficult or meaningful questions, like who is responsible for this? What will it cost to get Murray Avenue refurbished? I have no doubt that in light of deciding that you were going to demolish Murray Avenue, that certain infrastructure and maintenance issues were postponed, and that makes sense. How much will it cost to keep a fourth school open? And what will it cost to refurbish Murray Avenue? I don't have any confidence in the projections for the cost of additional staff to be $600,000 to $1.1 million, and I suspect these are underestimates. There's a lot of people that you're going to have to hire to maintain a new school, or excuse me, a Murray Avenue school. Where will we put our parking and athletic fields for the new high school? And even if your number is correct, who is going to be accountable for a $1.1 million mistake? Your saving grace is that you are a government entity, so you can continue to increase our taxes with estimates of up to 4.1 and 4.9% in the next 2 years.
Dr. Randolph, if you can finish up, please.
I will. Instead of doing what the rest of us in the non-government world have to do, live within our means. As I said 2 weeks ago, I am not against public schools. My children attended here. Teachers deserve to be fairly paid for an increasingly difficult job. I have no problem paying my fair share for public education. What I am against is what I think is the mismanagement of this new building proposal. Exhibit A, the exorbitant tax increases to be expected.
Dr.
that we
Randolph,
had, and B
you've
is the
exceeded your
building
3
of
minutes,
this new
please.
undersized high school, and your plan to now backpedal and keep Murray Avenue open, which seems like your only option at this point. In my opinion, this is poor planning and a violation of public trust and obligation. And I would love for the board to address some of the concerns that I have at some point. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Randolph. That takes us down to the report of the Superintendent of Schools, and as we had discussed at our last meeting in relation to the presentation to the board for planning for the future and maximizing resources to meet growing needs, the board instructed us to, as an administration, to bring this back to you for further discussion at this meeting. So I'm just opening the floor right now for any questions, thoughts related to what was presented and recommendations made by administration at that time.
Is there anyone who would like to discuss? Any questions? Dr. David House, there doesn't seem to be any questions or comments at this point.
So during that presentation, there were 2 recommendations made that were incorporated inside the slides, and one of those was to retain Murray Avenue and not demolish it as originally planned. When we went out for feasibility study with the demographic study that came back in 2019, the decision at that time was a projection of 15% over the next 10 years. As reported at our last meeting, we've now reached 13% in practically 4 years. And as an administrative team, it makes most sense for us right now to protect our ability and capacity in the near future, let alone future-proofing, to retain Murray Avenue and not demolish it. And the second recommendation was a grade alignment. Originally in the proposed planning was to align grades 5 through 8 in this building as the new middle school. We're now shifting gears a bit to adjust to the 4-building proposal and allow for essentially an upper and a lower upper and a lower elementary school. So a K through 3 at Pine Road, a 4 through 6 at Murray Avenue, and a 7-8 here at the middle school, along with our new soon-to-be occupied building in less than a year of 9 through 12. So again, though we mentioned this does not take any formal action by the board, giving us the direction to allow our construction engineering firm, doing engineering, to engage in conversations and negotiations with Borough Construction, the GC, on the project itself, and allow for those negotiations to formulate a credit change order. So there would be money received back through a credit. That would have to take a formal motion by the board to accept whatever that is or not at the particular time of the negotiation. So we could, by giving some direction this evening, move forward with that engagement, and seeing no other discussion of the grade alignment, it will allow our administrative team to now begin some deeper details in regards to our alignment and focus our attentions in the coming year toward a lot of the details centering on that as well.
May I ask one question? What was our projected capacity at the new high school when we were planning to build it?
Its capacity is 1,000 students. And in the 10-year scope, the study never found it to reach that particular limit during its time.
And I also just wanted to clarify, like when we were planning to build the new high school, there's not just like unlimited borrowing that we could do, correct? There's
Correct.
a process that has to be followed.
Correct. There's an Act 34 process that needs to be followed in regards to, some of the decisions that were made at the time were that, Act 34, and we went through those particular hearings based on PDE, and you can't, and Mark referenced this, and Mr. McGuinn referenced this in the last meeting, that kind of Taj Mahal large, you can't just build, right? Build to build. So there are, based on enrollment, we had to send enrollment figures based on our studies to the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and we certainly did not reach it excludes you from building a building, but for the protection of the taxpayers to a large sense. So it needs to be inside a formulaic, reasonable sense of where that was. And 1,000 at the time, that projection was inside that based on the demographic study. Other factors included in that were also the borrowing power of the district at the time, and the limits to which the board at that time had. We wanted to be able to build that particular building without any new tax dollars having to go toward that. We had expiring debt coming off, and we were replacing that through our debt service line, and to be able to function that and be responsible toward our taxpayers with that, when we wanted to be mindful as it related to that. So that debt ceiling, along with the capacities, that projections at that time. And we did look at, I believe, if I recall, there were 7 different options, some of which were to refurbish Murray Avenue, expand Murray Avenue, do similar things here to the high school, adding portable trailers. There were a number of different mechanisms that the board looked at the time. Many of those were triggering a component of fire suppression. Both here in this current high school and at Murray Avenue, there is no fire suppression sprinklers. The buildings are to code, and to code at the time did not require that to occur. So if there's any major renovations, anything done to the buildings themselves, it would force and trigger a complement of things that would need to be required. And estimates that we saw, there were tens of millions of dollars that were going to be having to be placed into the infrastructure to simply expand into 6 to 8 classrooms. But the board really looked more closely at that and wanted those monies more directed toward an educational spaces that they decided toward inside the high school.
Dr. David Heiser, you mentioned the resolution to instruct the builder not to demolish. When do you anticipate that to happen? And then a request for Dr. Randolph. I think it'd be nice to see over the next 5 to 10 years the specific line items that we expect to need to do for Murray Avenue in terms of renovation and upkeep. if that could be shared with the public, I think that would be helpful.
Sure, absolutely, we can do that. One of the things we mentioned at our last meeting was that we expect to have a company out to do infrared on the roof itself and project, similar to what we did here that triggered our repair systems and moving forward here. We don't anticipate other things, but we will pull together those items and be able to share those with the board and with our public. To answer your question in regards to that step, I don't have an exact answer as to how quickly that would occur. Your instructions tonight to allow Mr. McGuinn and I to communicate with Dewey to begin that process. My assumption would be that that would take maybe some months to finalize at the worst. You know, I'm expecting like through the springtime this year for us to land on a negotiated credit to which we could bring back to the board. I think would probably be the reasonable amount of time. Mr. McGuinn, do you have any insight into that?
I would say your time frame is correct, maybe more towards the early summer as the site contractor comes back on site, which is for a lot of site work that's needed to be done in the summertime. That is the subcontractor that was going to be responsible for the demolition of Murray Avenue. So once they're on site, we'll certainly have a better handle on getting that final number.
Dr. David Heiser.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Were you finished, Dr. Lee? Because you should continue, and then I'll go after you.
I appreciate that, Steve. So with regards to projections and staffing, what was presented, I believe, was the additional FTEs with option 2 for, the 24-25 school year? I guess it'd be interesting to see, based on the current enrollment projections, if you march that out further 5 years, for instance, what would be the additional staffing requirements each year?
Yeah, that's tough to suggest. I mean, depending on ebb and flow and, you know, whether some things bubble into an additional class or not at the elementary level, that there's some trigger points that force into and not into those things. You know, the FTEs that we looked at were based on the projected grades in the time when we do open. So, I mean, we could look at those class sizes below there to see, and we could go off of those class sizes to give you a sense if there's going to be many more FTEs. I don't anticipate necessarily, but there's some trigger points with when we get into those elementary self-contained classes that has become a tipping point and not to it.
In the projections for the FTEs, there were no regular instructional teachers added in those FTEs. There were a couple special education classroom teachers needed based on numbers, and there were some specialty teachers, i.e. nurse guidance. But as of when we were doing those projections, there were no grade level teachers needed.
So, Grant, could you just repeat what you said? You cut out, your microphone cut out the last couple sentences.
So in the projections for the new staffing, there were no new regular instructional teachers in those numbers. We can accommodate instruction through our existing teachers. What will be needed are additional special education teachers. I believe that may be 2 for 2 new classes. And again, that's based on case sizes or caseloads. In addition, specialty positions are needed, i.e. guidance, nursing. We want to make sure that, obviously we have the building covered in those aspects, as well as a couple support staff positions. Now, as Dr. David Heiser said, as some of those enrollments in the lower grades go up, we will look at it as we do every year, and we will bring those recommendations to the school board. Obviously, that can be affected by many things, class size being one of them.
Thank you.
Dr. David Heiser, 250 student per grade, which is the new high school 1,000. To me, that, you know, what's our average grade population? That probably in the 220 or 230 range, I would think, right?
Mr. Geiger, our current grade level numbers in the 22-23 school year, there's not a grade level at this point that goes over 226. That's the current 10th grade. Again, our elementary grades in this year, our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade are our biggest numbers. They're 213, 214, right, and 215, and that's as of October 1st. They may be up or down a couple students.
So, Mr. Geiger, we anticipate when we do move into the building, it not to be at full maximum occupancy, as was stated earlier here this evening. It is expected to be around the 860. So that's 86%. That's about optimal positioning for a building. Anywhere in the 80 to 85% range is a typical flex point, and operates at a real good functionality in order to give some flexibility yet not have a lot of open space left. Right. So we expect it to be in there. Now the growing enrollment trends to that could precipitate it forward and higher as it moves forward through those grades. Whether some students drop off or not, we don't know. So, you know, that's, you know, if we all had crystal balls, it'd be a pretty easy job. And, you know, the enrollment studies, they themselves, based on some of the things that occurred, there's more students that came out of housing developments than were expected. We've seen more because of the housing market. We've seen more turned over homes in the last couple of years because of the values of homes and people selling homes and younger families moving into those homes. I don't know that the enrollment study back in 2018-19 took into consideration what was going to happen to the housing market in the 2021 to 2023 range, and what that turnover amount means necessarily inside the district itself. So, you know, at that time, I think the board made the best decisions it could, and as we said, Act 34 precludes you from just building. It has to be based on something. There has to be a substance of what a projected enrollment was going to be in order to build what you consider to be the high school in order to do that. And no studies are going to go outward beyond 10 years to be able to do some of that. So we're expecting next year when we move in to be in that 860 range with certainly having, and we're operating a high school right now currently over 100% capacity right now in a high school environment to which we do. There is a lot more flexibility because of the ever-changing nature of how classrooms change over and teachers are in and out of rooms, and rooms can be occupied at a higher extent and a higher usage than if you think about an elementary school and to where those are in those self-contained environments. There's not as much flexibility to that, and it does help in a high school level, but we expect to be well under our capacity when we do move in.
So really the issue with the 24, 25 enrollment is this school. This is the one that, according to this presentation, is going to be at 114%.
It is. It is.
It's this school. What's the capacity of this school? So it's not 1,000. It's what, 900, 850?
Our capacity here is 850, or excuse me, capacity is 801.
801? Okay.
That is a PDE capacity.
Right.
Just so you know. It's the
say-
Pennsylvania Department of Education capacity.
That's the max we can have here?
No.
No.
That's what if you had every classroom at 25 students, for example, every usable space, normal usable space. And again, as Dr. David Heiser said, in a high school environment, you can run a building higher than, 85, 90%, because you're switching classes. You have some classes that are, like an AP class may have 6 or 7 or 8 students in, and then you may have another class that's larger than that.
Okay. So at around 213 students, we're talking 852 in this building then. And that's 114% seems a little high to me. It would be maybe right around 100 or a little over 100. So I'm just trying to get at where did the 114.2% come from 4 grades in this building?
Mark, do you have that figure?
Hang on just a second. So in the 24-25 school year, we were projecting, bear with me, sorry. 5th grade.
Note right now, Steve, that we are running at 107% capacity right now, currently.
What percent?
107, grades 9 through 12.
Right now, today?
Right now.
Okay.
So in 24-25, we were projecting, along with the 5th grade, moving into this building, 915 students. 915 divided by 801 comes to 114%.
But this building could hold more than 801 because we're doing that today.
We currently are. Those are just sizes that Pennsylvania Department lands on, goes by. We certainly have classes that bubble up into the 28, 29s. And, we try to keep a very good eye on in terms of those classrooms, but they can go and expand beyond the 25, but it's just a standard number that the PDE utilizes in its matrix of things. However, we're running at 859 students now with a capacity of 801. It takes us over 100%. We're at 107%. The planning in our mind based in the last year to what we were starting to see. And you have to remember, in the last 4 years, our enrollment has been driven 13%. Within the last year and a half, it's nearly 5% of that 13%. It was a reason we came to the board back in the fall to talk about Pine Road, because much of that growth is being seen at Pine Road. In order to do some planning for the here and now for next year with the pressure points of it. But we also needed to recognize that plans need to adjust based on better data as we get better data. And again, if we all had a crystal ball, it'd be a simple job to do. We don't. We go upon the best data and we adjust when new data arrives to us. And we have an opportunity right now where the administration does not feel as though it would be functionally responsible to suggest and recommend to the board that we move into a 5-8 middle school at 114% capacity, when we have the opportunity to operate 4 buildings and lessen those concerns with capacity and hopefully future-proof against some further enrollment at not having to build, not having to go out and borrow more money to be able to do some of those things. Yes, there's an expenditure when you look at operating a building itself, and there are going to be some repairs through time, but major overhaul or renovations needed at Murray Avenue are not required. As we recognize things, and we'll do that, we're starting with the roof and started to look at those systems, but there's a reason we also have a capital projects fund to be able to consider those types of projects and not have to take from or add to the general budget in terms of taxing and things of that nature. So, there's some thought and sort of plan that has certainly gone into this to be able to suggest to you today that our thinking 4 years ago has changed, and it's altered based on the significance of what has been presented to us in enrollment. There's many factors that have driven that, inside our own community have driven that, and we also recognize the possibility of further building that may result in more students for us in the future, and we have to recognize that and hopefully, shield the district for those possibilities.
One more question. So yeah, I apologize, I'm asking a question. I wasn't at the last board meeting, as you know. So we're proposing to move 2 grades down to Murray Avenue. If we're 114%, what would that be? Maybe like 2 classes, right? 40 students, perhaps?
Now, the proposal is to move grades 4, 5, and 6, to Murray Avenue. 7 and 8 would be here.
Okay.
So those capacities in option 2, and this was presented at the work session, so Pine Road would be a little over 67% capacity. Murray Avenue School, the actual Murray Avenue School, 81.6%. The new Lower Moreland Middle School, 54.8%. And then the high school is projected at little under 88%.
Right.
And what was stated at that meeting, and again tonight, it allows for future proofing. So if there's a bubble that's coming through at Murray Avenue, we have room at the Lower Moreland Middle School, or in the high school. If it gets unwieldy, we have room at the middle school.
Could we look at it a different way and say, do we need to go to option 2 right away versus have, the administration's going to be down at the Murray Avenue. Maybe just move a couple of classes, bus students from here, that AP class you're talking about, or another class where you just move them to that building, and then they'll come up later. I don't know. Just so that there's not 54% capacity in a school. When 60% capacity, when we talked about optimally, 80-some% is what we want. Is there a way just to do what I said and or suggested and just move? I know you don't want to keep 40 students separated from the rest. That's not what I'm suggesting.
There really isn't, Mr. Geiger, economically speaking or functionally when you get into stretching that, right? It's not only just self-contained classrooms, there's special areas that students go to throughout the course of the day. So to be able to separate that is near impossible to that length. I think you're going to, out of 4 buildings, certainly we have 1 building that may have a lower percentage in terms of its usage. But you also have to understand we've been running buildings that have been way over their usage as well at the same time. And I think it's important to note that by maintaining a building that's in and around that upper 50s to 60, it allows for an opportunity, if we do find ourselves in a situation where we do need to shift a grade, we now have the flexibility to be able to do that. So, while our capacity at the high school, we expect to be moving in around the 860. If in years to come we do bubble to a point where we're well over 100% capacity and we feel that it's becoming functionally restricting, we could look at the opportunity, the board could look at the opportunity to move a grade level out of there, i.e. 9th grade out of there, place them in to this current building and satisfy the need of the capacity issues and the enrollment issue at that point in time by doing that. And there's a little simpler logistics when we're talking all secondary together, 7, 8, 9 through 12th grade, all within a same campus, and the ability to share teachers and move teachers a little bit more fluidly that way. So when we really looked at the grade band structure, we really looked at that as a possibility and a need down the road. We knew we couldn't operate 4 buildings exactly at 85%, right? Just not the reality of where we could be. But we also wanted to be able to look at some goals that we have, and one of which is lessening class sizes. You know, as we now have more capacity, how can we do that at certain levels? And we think we can tackle that through budgeting in the years to come after we move toward that. So, you know, we did look both at, obviously, the 5.8, which was the original plan. Then we looked at the two options that were presented 2 weeks ago at it. And the affordability and the grade banding actually made more sense to us to make a recommendation toward a lower and upper elementary school, i.e. Murray Avenue and Pine Road, and then a middle school with the opportunity to have some space there if in the event we needed it.
Thank you.
Can you refresh my memory how many students we enrolled since February of last year due to the war in Ukraine?
I don't know that I have the exact today. We were most recently 25 stands out to me. I don't know if we're exactly at that 25, but it had been not long ago.
I think that developmentally, the Plan B made the most sense, having K through 3, 4 through 6, 7, 8. And I like the idea of having the flexibility to adjust based on population. I think regardless of which grades are in the current Murray Avenue building, I think we have an obligation to do everything we can to make that building as clean and safe and structurally sound as possible for whichever students are in it. I'm not suggesting that anybody would put a child at risk intentionally, but the comments that some of the parents made at our last meeting were not lost on me. And I think at the very least to get a good exterminator in there as soon as possible.
The building is clean. The building is safe. I can tell you there was a middle school principal who left this meeting very upset with some of those comments because it's just not true. In addition, we have regular monthly extermination services going on at all of our buildings. Some of the Murray Avenue is actually below grade. So there are times when there are some insects that do come in, just like there is at my house, public's house, maybe some of the board members' houses. We remedy that, we address it. The buildings are up to code, the buildings are cleaned daily. The buildings currently house many, many students who flourish each and every day.
Like I said, I didn't think anybody would intentionally put a child at risk, but I just want to make sure that we're giving it the full attention that it deserves.
Yeah, and as Dr. Lee mentioned, I think what we will do is we will share in the coming months, and we'll take a look at some of the larger components to the building and hopefully have some things back to you from regards to the roof and have an idea from a capital standpoint. We don't really expect that to be an exorbitant piece because our mechanicals are all operating, we believe, to the best of their ability at this time. And there's no major repairs that we are expecting. We can't speak to the roof. Roofs are a little bit different beasts, and you know, we need some experts out to really understand some of those components to that. So we'll get back to you on some things with regard, but we wouldn't be housing a student in there today if we felt that that building was not safe. We tested for lead every year as required by law in our waters. Asbestos is verified every 3 years. Like Mr. McGuinn said, we have extermination plans for all of those types of things. We have custodial services that are in there every evening, just like we do here and at Pine Road Elementary. It does happen to be our oldest building, but that certainly doesn't mean that it can't function and is not functioning as a school support system for us today, and we believe it can. We wouldn't be making a recommendation if we didn't feel we could have that building operate in the same way it has for many students in the past.
I think it would be foolish not to take advantage of having the building, given our situation. But it being our oldest building and being built as it was appropriate for the time, I think there are additional risks, and I wouldn't doubt that you would take every precaution, but I want to make sure that we're doing that, given the age of the building, and make sure that it is perfectly safe.
I'm sorry, I have another comment. Thinking about it very simplistically, we've exceeded the projections from Future Think by far, correct? And that was done 4 years ago. And until we see otherwise, we've consistently exceeded these projections. I guess I'm concerned about what position that puts us in terms of our ability to plan. You're saying, obviously, we don't have a crystal ball. And Mr. McGuinn, on your website, you know, I see you update the numbers per year and how that leads to a subsequent projection, if I'm characterizing it correctly. I guess, again, I'm just expressing some concern that it's going to be reactionary more so than in a planning stance, that as flawed as projections are, we're not going to have a true sense of where we could lie, because thus far our experience has been we've exceeded consistently the projections.
Yeah, and that's, you're accurate in that, Dr. Lee, and I think one of the things that retaining a fourth building at least takes out the, I think the immediate and really some future concerns, because we are increasing our capacity by 1,000 students, right? So planning and future planning, when we look at the largest cost to educating students is the human resource component, outside of all the necessary infrastructure. So our ability to retain and operate that building, not free of charge, but without having to do anything major to it, does allow us, I think, a little bit less pressure with regard to that. These are projections, are snapshots in time, and I don't know how we get around any of that.
No, I agree. I guess I'm pushing back on the characterization that we are future-proofed. We're future-proofed to a certain point, and it would be good to know, as best to our knowledge, when that could happen, so that we're prepared.
The only thing I could recommend to the board is if the board wanted to go out on another demographic study, and we could RFP out for some organizations to give us a quote on that, and set some parameters as to what you'd want to see as a board and how far out you'd want to see that, to possibly give you some expertise in that. Our formulation of that is, again, it's in moment of time and it's in snapshots. So we could do that if the board so choose. We can bring that back to you. I do think it's important to note that, as I mentioned, the cost, certainly the cost of educating students is paramount. Over the last, I have asked Mr. McGuinn to go back and look at, based on some of the comments that have been made more recently, and to look at where our enrollment is and where it compares to our surrounding school districts and to what the millage increases have been. And it's interesting to note that, so from the 1999-2000 school year, we've increased our student enrollment by 1,008 students. That's a 62.49% increase. So as Mr. McGuinn, I've asked him to run the numbers on Abington, Cheltenham, Hatboro, Jenkintown, Springfield, Upper Dublin, and Upper Moreland, which really are our surrounding school districts, and who also send students to the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology. And the highest increase in student enrollment across those that same time period of 24 years was 21%, 21.15%. So I also asked Mr. McGuinn to also look and run the millage averages, or run the millage and what the increase in millage over those same time periods, when we have our school district running at a 62% increase over those 24 years, and the highest school districts running at a 21. The other school districts were 15%, a decrease in 15%, a decrease in 19%, an increase in 15%, a decrease in 3%, and an increase in 5% in terms of their enrollments. But at the same time, when we looked at the millage increases, we've increased our millage over those 24 years at a 143.8% over 24 years. Those other school districts that I mentioned in terms of, and I won't name them by names, but their millage increases have been at 143.4%, 146.5%, 141.2%, 97.4%, 83%, 148.9%, and 127.3% increase. So, you know, when we take a look back, and I think the board needs to be commended for being as responsible as they can in looking at the largest cost to any one school district are its students and how we educate those students. And as our enrollment has far exceeded many of the other school districts in and around this area at 62% increase, our millage has not risen at a rate at that same level and is comparable when we look at those same districts, with the highest district only having a 21% increase in its. So I think the board needs to be commended, and I think by taking these two action steps, you're taking a responsible move toward having, again, our ability to deal with the here and now and the changes that have resulted over the last 4 years, and also helping for the future. What the future is, I cannot tell you, but we can certainly go out and see if somebody can give us another look over the coming years as to what that may be to help us further. So I guess my question then is, do I have the direction to move forward to have Dewey Engineering begin those negotiations with the general contractor at this time? Is there any concerns about that? Okay,
Are there any concerns?
To not demolish. Okay, just making sure.
Correct. Okay, I will have them do that, and at the same time, the administration will begin working toward details. Again, we still have 1.5 years until the results of where we need to be. However, we're going to be mapping out our timeline, which will really dictate a lot of our fall and our announcements with our staff and with our community about plans for that grade realignment. And we will get busy working on that.
Can I ask just one more quick question for you, Mark? I wasn't in the district at the time, but do you recall when Pine Road stopped being a K through 3? When did we go to K through 5?
2009, 2010 was the first year moving K to 5, or moving 4th and 5th grade down. Pine Road was added on based on an enrollment study at that time, of which those enrollments were far exceeded, which had preceded another enrollment study when we first renovated Pine Road, when we added a library and 6 classrooms with an alternate for 2 other classrooms, which we took, for 8 classrooms to a K-3 school. Again, that enrollment study didn't work. Enrollment study done before my time here by the Pennsylvania Economy League, PEL, at one point recommended closing Pine Road School and only operating the high school in Murray Avenue. Dr. David Heiser made a salient point. Our district enrollment has increased 63%. 63%, especially with a low denominator of a school district, a small school district, is beyond any projections, guaranteed. Can we predict the future? Absolutely not. And I'm sure if we have a demographer come in, that demographer will probably utilize some of the same ratios that the Montgomery County Planning Commission uses and they'll assign 0.06 students to a multifamily unit. And we know where that issue is at the township. But that is a number that's tangible in Montgomery County. So again, we can go with a demographer. We don't know if those numbers are going to be good either.
I would be opposed to wasting any time or money with another study from anybody. That's just a exercise in futility.
We can grab some numbers, grab some figures, and bring that back to the school board for consideration.
Okay, the other item I had, and this is really just an announcement for the board, and traditionally by April, the early part of April, we do announce the last academic school day so that parents can appropriately plan and begin their summer planning and their camp planning and things of that nature. Monday, April 3rd, what I will plan to do is announce 2 pending any, knock on something. There's some wood back here. You know, we do have 2 snow days built in. We've not had to use either of those 2 snow days, so we're anticipating we'll be able to give those 2 days back into the calendar, and that we would announce that the last school day would be Friday, June 16th. But we will confirm that in my announcement on Monday the 3rd. Originally, our calendar was to end on June 21st, and the way it shapes out with the holiday and with giving back those 2 days, it would end on a Friday. Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve the 2022-2023 personnel motions I-1A as attached?
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried.
There's some new items I would like to go over. First, Lisa Weidman, the nurse at the high school, has submitted her resignation as of March 31st. We will be posting, getting a substitute for the remainder of this year, and then posting for her permanent replacement this spring, so for next year. Leslie Jones has submitted her retirement letter for the district at the end of the school year. This is after 32 years of service, so we thank her for her many, many years of service.
Mrs. Scotto, was that for A or?
That was for A.
For A. Okay. Does that change the vote? Okay. All right. Going on to B, there are no supplemental non-athletic extracurricular contracts or stipends. Do a motion to approve the supplemental athletic extracurricular contract stipends as attached?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Mrs. Gaudo, would you please update the board?
Certainly. So there are a few additions since the last work session, which are on bold, for Murray Avenue track and baseball.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do a motion to approve the 2023-2024 non-athletic and athletic extracurricular contracts as attached?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns?
Mrs. Gaudo, I know there were a few added to this as well, and again, as a board, these are traditionally more toward the August time period, but with Mrs. Kepner's leave coming up very shortly, she was able to get a jump on these.
So the ones in bold here under non-athletic extracurriculars have been added since the work session.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? If Not moved to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. A motion to approve the 2023-2024 district substitute hourly pay rates as listed below.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. A motion to approve the professional meetings as attached.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns?
There are 3 additional meetings that have been added, all for Pine Road Elementary's counseling staff, and it includes 1 national conference.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. To a motion to approve homebound instruction for student number 7287.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. To a motion to approve the applications for use of buildings and facilities as attached.
So moved.
Second. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
Just a note to the board that 3 items have been added to this. I know we went over the other 5, I believe it was, prior at our work session. The Goddard School is requesting the use of Pine Road for its graduation ceremony. A number of students typically through the Goddard School will attend Pine Road Elementary, and Mr. Cole has been out to the Goddard School to visit and such, so we think this is a welcomed item for building usage. Our PTA for its 5th grade dance at Pine Road, and then there was a shift in planning to come back to Murray Avenue for a bingo event, and that is actually this Friday. The others have, other items on there have already retroactively approving those, absent of the dedication and the 2 classes, but the others, the Board of Commissioners and such.
Thank you, Dr. David Hazard. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the additional information? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. The motion to approve the accounts payable checklist dated February 27th, 2023 in the amount of $4,776,512.73 and checklist dated March 14th, 2023 in the amount of $461,671.10 as attached.
So moved.
Second. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
I have a question. On the March 14th checklist, the second to last line item, Mr. McGuinn, can you just remind us what that weatherproofing repairs item was, $123,000?
Yes, that was the board-approved first 2 sections of the high school roof. That was completed. We had reviewed the infrared scan and the proposals by WTI at the time, and we voted on doing the first 2 sections. Our plan is to attack the next 2 sections, probably bringing something to the board in the April or May timeframe to systematically get through those repairs. And again, this carries with it a new 20-year warranty on the roof.
Thank you, Mr. Gwynn. Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. The motion to approve the auditing services in Malley LLP for the year ending June 30th, 2023, June 30th, 2024, and June 30th, 2025, as per the attached proposal. The price for the 22-23 audit year will be $39,000, which represents an increase of $1,566. Second? Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. A motion to approve the financial reports listed below.
Moved.
Second? Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any, oh my God, questions or concerns? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Got excited with all those dollar amounts. Do I have a motion to approve the wire transfer list dated February 28th, 2023 in the amount of $14,316.58? So moved. Second? Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. The motion to approve the 2023-2024 food service budget as previously presented.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. The motion to approve to authorize the Lower Moreland Township School District Administration to work with the financing team composed of PFM Financial Advisors as financial advisor King, Spry, Herman, Freud, and Paul as bond counsel and the local solicitor in conjunction with the issuance of the general obligation bonds series of 2023 in the appropriate amount of $16 million via a competitive request for proposal process for the purposes of, 1, funding various capital projects throughout the district, including but not limited to renovations and construction of district building facilities, 2, funding any capitalized interest required, and 3, pay the cost of issuing the bonds. Second? Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Mr. Geiger, I thought you were going to ask me to repeat. There a motion to approve the agreement between the district and Scantech Management Solutions to provide document storage services for special education and student cumulative records. Services include transferring records to cloud-based storage with remote access and exporting records from the current storage system, Alchemy, to the Laserfish for cloud-based retrieval. Services are detailed in the attached proposal. Total immediate cost is $13,600 with an annual reoccurring fee of $6,000.
So moved.
Second? Are there any comments, questions, or concerns?
Where are the, oh, sorry, Steve. Where are the documents currently stored?
It's basically a hard drive that they provide to us. They come and download the documents onto the hard drive and then take them for storage. But they're switching from that program to a cloud-based.
Mr. Geyer?
Just making sure since here. We got some competitive bids on this, Mark, and Scantech came in best.
Scantech's actually one of the only players in the business, and in addition, all of our records have previously been with Scantech, of which we did seek proposals for. And part of this is moving all of the accumulated records that Mr. Giordano just detailed from the hard drive system, or Alchemy, to their cloud-based Laserfish system.
The Scantech owners are, I think, Huntington Valley or Lower Moreland family, so hopefully they gave us the hometown discount.
They did. Mr. Giordano worked his magic on two fronts and received $1,000 credits for the one-time fee, and then a $1,000 credit to be used for one of the recurring costs for 1 year.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano.
Is there a duration of that contract, that $66,000 yearly fee? Is that indefinite? Is that to be renewed a certain period of time? Is that...
The contract does not have an end date. This is something that is done every year. To refresh the board's memory, we have scanned all student cumulative regular education records, as well as all student special education records. And for special education records, we're required by law to keep those for 99 years. So it behooves us to have a system to be able to retrieve that for now and in the future. If we need to, if costs become prohibitive in the future, it's something that we would obviously address in the future. The recurring fee of about $6,000 is currently what we pay for the old system.
I was just curious if that is a set fee for a certain number of years, or that will be a number that will be presented every year, or
the recurring fee is set for in perpetuity.
Is 500 gigs of storage per user enough?
Refer to our Director of Technology.
Yes, it is.
Any other further comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do a motion to approve the 2023-2024 board meeting calendar as attached.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? Not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. The motion to approve the administrative memorandum of understanding between the Lower Moreland Township and the Lower Moreland Township School District regarding the library auxiliary parking lot. Please see the attached agreement.
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
I just wanted
Mr. Geiger?
Just going to ask you to summarize it for us.
Sure. Currently, there's an MOU that is in place, that was in place, I believe it dates back to 2015, if I'm correct, that allowed for the district and the township to each have 15 spots on the what we call the gravel lot. That area was once a storage shed area for landscaping equipment and so forth. That came into disrepair and was apparently torn down. The lot itself was then brought back to the gravel area. The school district does not have access to it without an MOU and an understanding by the district for the right-of-way to come into the library township lots and then eventually to that gravel lot. So that was originally, we had presented to the township administration some months ago the opportunity possibly if they would, if the commissioners would allow us to increase to the full lot when we've been noting that there has not been a lot of traffic inside the library. Some of the programs that we had been seeing there previously are not occurring, and they obligated, and excuse me, they brought that back to the commissioners, and the commissioners agreed and allowed us the opportunity to have that so we can gain 15 parking spaces for our high school students. Now, with that will also come, we are going to need to make a request for a change order, which would allow a better pathway to that. With some of the construction and what we've done, it's increased the slope of that hillside, and that needs to be corrected, and we plan to bring that to you this spring so that can be worked on this summer, and we can have that whole area fully functional for the start of next school year.
I just had a general question, sorry, about parking. As my understanding is that the parking passes are given out at the beginning of the year. So it just seems that students who turn 17 and get their license later in the year are disadvantaged. How do you come across, how do you get around that? Can we accommodate them?
We're going to bring Mr. Miles to the podium to speak to the process of all of that. And obviously, we do not have enough parking for all students. So, Mr. Miles, you want to share the process for how you get to eventually filling your lot full?
Yes, absolutely. So we put out the application, and typically the due date for the applications is about the third week of August. And at that time, Mr. Golden, who is our security officer here at the high school, and I will go through all the applications. We take the seniors first, and typically any senior at that time who applies for a parking spot, they do get a space first. And then there's a lottery system thereafter for juniors who have at that point applied for a parking space. In my time here, this year was the first year that after the first day of the lottery, we had only 13 spaces remaining out of 154 spaces that are in the main student parking lot, not including that gravel lot. So typically, it takes us several months when students may turn of age, and then they submit all of their paperwork, which would be their driver's license and all the other assorted paperwork. This is their first year that seemed to be an aberration where we almost ran out of spots the very first week that the applications were due. So that's really the process. And in my conversation with Dr. David Heiser, in years past when we did utilize the 15, that would give us a little bit of time. And now with 30, with increased enrollment and additional 30 spaces, so 154 in the main parking lot plus the 30, I would imagine that should bide us a little bit of time moving forward after that original due date.
Again, to be fair to students who don't get their license right away, can some of those spaces be doled out in increments to allow more people time to turn of age? I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, we could consider any number of changes to the process. That is the current process that has been in place for the last 8 years or so, what I just described.
And just for the board's knowledge, futuristically, with the direction given to the administration this evening, the student lot may end up having more spots because staffing currently, 9 through 12 staff parking currently is in part of the student lot for the high school. Those staff members will now move down to the lower lot where the new high school is closer to the soccer fields. And you will only have 2 grades worth of staff, so that may free up some more spots. So hopefully maybe give us a little bit more flexibility moving forward.
Any further comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. A motion to approve the overnight trip to Penn State University for the Pennsylvania Junior Academy of Science State Level Competition.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. A motion to approve the overnight trip for chess to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for the Chess State Open.
So moved.
Second.
I guess this already happened.
Yes, this is retroactively approving.
Any comments, questions, or concerns?
They do.
They did okay. We're going to be representing them in May here, as well as some of our PGAS as well. So you'll hear a little bit more about that.
Any further comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. A motion to approve the overnight trip to Bucknell University for swimming states.
So moved.
Second. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
Again, this is a retroactive approval, if you recall, and I do want to share some information with you from that. This is states. This is the last and the largest meet for boys and girls across across the state and inside of PIAA, and I'm happy to share with everybody tonight, and we will certainly be bringing our winter sports back and inviting them back in the months to come and recognizing, because we do have a number of district award winners as well as states. But for our swimming program, in the 200 medley relay, we had a 9th place for both boys and our girls teams. In the 200 free relay, we had a 14th place finish for boys. In the 200 IM, Esther Park placed 10th. In the 50 free, Jude Blumhart placed 5th, and that is a medal. He medaled at states, and he actually broke his own 50 free school record at that particular meet as well. In the 100 fly, Jude Blumhart again placed 8th and medaled at states. 200 breaststroke, Esther Park placed 2nd and medaled. And the 500 free, Josh Furker placed 10th. And in the 100 breaststroke, Aiden Meehan placed 15th. So we will certainly be recognizing those student athletes in the coming meetings here before us. But quite a season for our swimming team and some phenomenal finishes.
Any further comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. The motion to approve the agreement for the change order number GC005 to Borough Developers Incorporated DBA Borough Construction in the amount of $12,798.78 per the attached and previously presented.
So moved.
Second. Any comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. The motion to approve the attached proposal for Student Club Dance Club.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, or concerns?
So this is an addition to, from the work session, this came in, and I felt we could bring this forward to you. It's an opportunity for our students to form a dance club, essentially, and one that could perform at various functions, possibly at various other types of athletic events and such. And it would be a club that would meet voluntarily after school, various things, and you can see the times and locations, and Ms. Ballas has agreed to sponsor that as an organization and a club, and we think this would be wonderful for our students who may seek out this type of participation.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions, or concerns? If not, move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Committee reports. Legislative.
Things are starting to move again now that the gridlock is over. So on March 7th, Governor Shapiro delivered his budget address, which I shared with the board, and that's just a proposed budget. Now the real fund starts. The appropriation meetings are starting now, like March 20th and March 21st. So hopefully by June, we should have a better idea of what the actual budget will be. And I anticipate quite a few proposals and bills being proposed that we can discuss in future meetings. But for right now, it seems like things are starting to move again.
Thank you. Eastern Center for Arts and Technology.
No update.
MCIU.
In the February meeting, they focus on a different MCIU program each month, and last month they focused on the Office of Community and Government Relations Services and Initiatives, and they also announced that there are 7 school districts who will be electing new members to the MCIU this year, not us. And they presented the results from their audit from last year, and there were no significant findings. Our next meeting is next Wednesday, the 29th.
Technology.
So, Dr. Lee, I said that plenty of storage. I just wanted to get you an answer. So in between my answer and this update, the compression, I'm going to check, is either 7-to-1, 10-to-1, or in some cases it's 200-to-1. So our net cloud storage would be 500 gigs, but we could have terabytes of data. And certainly one of the advantages that Dr. Giordano, or Mr. Giordano, was looking for was disaster recovery. Right now, he politely said that it was a hard drive, but if something happens to it, and politely meaning it's considered a sneaker net, where someone wearing sneakers would hand it to someone else. And we want to make sure that because those records are so important that they are secured, and it's cloud-to-cloud backup. So we'll be protected, and we'll certainly have enough space available. For the technology director update, there's 2 new technology supervisors at the IU, a supervisor of networking services and a supervisor of IT services, and they got right to work. We are currently planning for the summer upgrades. We do have our primary internet from the IU. There will be some upgrades this summer, and luckily the downtime will be limited to about 4 to 8 hours in one single day, and that will improve our connectivity and throughput. We are also planning for PIMS collections and some of the organizational and professional learning updates involved. Something that's top of mind in Lower Moreland, which is esports. There is a competition between the MCIU, DCIU, CCIU, and BCIU coming up in May, so I'll report on that. There will be a quiz. You will need to remember all those IUs, and they're going head-to-head, which will be pretty exciting for those esports athletes and certainly the coaches and sponsors. So the next update will probably be the final one of the year in June. I'll let you know how that competition goes. It's certainly exciting for those athletes and coaches.
Safe Schools.
We will be hosting our last meeting of the year this coming Wednesday, or excuse me, next Wednesday, and we will report out. I will report out at the next month's meeting.
Any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Thank you. Are there any items that the board would like to discuss? If not, the next scheduled meeting is for April 11th, 2023. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? Motion is